All right. What up, Internet? Word. You know what it is. It's dub season for those Auburn Tigers who played a little unevenly tonight, but when it counted, when things were getting tight toward the end, they put together another run and time ran out. It seemed like it was another one of those games, wasn't it? They made a push, create a nice lead, and then kind of slough off a little bit on the defensive end, and then Ole Miss would kind of work its way back. And there was a point there, 6 minutes left, something like that. It got down to 2, I think. And then Auburn kind of got in gear and put it away again. And I imagine if that game had been another 5 minutes, Ole Miss would have trimmed it again. Because it's kind of like an accordion with Auburn, right? They play well and get out ahead, and they kind of let it get back together. And then they play well, and then they kind of slough off. And it's just back and forth. I know it drives BP crazy. But you know what doesn't drive BP crazy? Getting a dub. Getting another dub. My man, Scotty. What up, bro? Says, what up, message board moderator? Woo! That's me, man. One of them. Raven says, where's that bottle? I've got a bottle, believe it or not. I got a new bottle tonight. Yes, sir. And as Phil P says, we win, I drink. We're just gonna make that our little statement here. Auburn wins, we drink. Tonight, this is kind of an odd situation. So I would imagine I know who this came from, but I was sent some of this John Emerald single malt whiskey. That's a little bright, I know. This is a whiskey made in Opelika. It says it's malt whiskey distilled from pecan and peach wood smoked malted barley. That sounds complicated. It also has a horse on the front there, which reminds one of Kentucky, right? Because, everybody knows horses and bourbon go hand in hand. We got our first super chat in from Sir Hornatius and followed quickly by Fat Crack, 2 of our Hall of Famers. Thank you, guys. Love the Cat says, Minor sucks. Taking his nightly shot at Mr. Jeffrey Lee, who is himself a minor graduate. And Fat Crack jumps in, says, JG, the boys played decent, and we got the dub. Can never complain about that. Thanks as always, sir. God bless you, sir. Fat Crack, appreciate you. 2 of our all-time greats there. I'm looking forward to tasting some of this John Emerald. I think I know who sent this to me in the mail, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to just thank random people now. No, I think it's the same guy that sent me the Blinking Owl from Kentucky. Because I think this person moves around, but I'm not 100% sure. I need a little more clarification on that. But what I do know is this John Emerald's going down the hatch. They didn't make it particularly easy to access, which means it's probably, it makes it even better. We got another super chat in from another Hall of Famer. StewPup74 says Wiley was nice. Solid if unspectacular win. True with that. Definitely unspectacular, but again, they got it done. That's what you got to do. All right, got a little pour going in. I've never had this before. I have never tasted John Emerald. Single malt whiskey from Opelika, Alabama. Here we go. Oh. Yeah, that's really sweet. Very sweet. Not a lot of burn at all. It is 86 proof, so you wouldn't expect it to be real hot. It stays with you a little bit. Definitely sweet, though. I like that. Well, that one hit me a little bit different. Yeah, I don't know. That's good, though. I have to get used to that one a little bit. We got a lot of folks in the chat, as you would expect, after a dub over the hated Ole Miss Rebels, who are the last team to beat Auburn inside Auburn Arena. That's a true story. It's now a 19-game win streak inside the Pearl. Canoe Man says, sign of a program on the rise is sweeping Ole Miss. Yeah, I think it shows the maturation of this program for sure, because Ole Miss has been a real bugaboo for Auburn through the years. Going back to, when Andy was there, and Kermit has gotten the better of Bruce a bunch of times in their careers going at it. But BP gets the sweep this year, at least in the regular season. They could face each other in the postseason, but we'll see. And, of course, the big story tonight is that Isaac O, last name redacted to protect his anonymity, started and played quite a bit tonight, 27 minutes. So almost a full night for Isaac coming back from that hamstring strain. He gives you 10 points on 3 of 4 shooting, no rebounds, which is peculiar because he's generally a pretty good rebounder. I wonder if that was kind of like by design a little bit. He picks up 4 fouls, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, 1 block. And he goes ±+8, so no problems there. He wasn't like the primary player tonight. He wasn't the prime time performer, as some would call it. I think that went to Austin Wiley. You could make an argument that Samir was also really, really big. And Devin Cambridge also came in for some clutch shooting when needed. But to me, the story was really Isaac coming back. And then Austin had himself a nice night. 15 points on 5 of 9 shooting. 5 of 7 at the line. 11 boards. And 2 blocks. And yet again, good at the free throw line and can play shift after shift without picking up a bunch of silly fouls. He picked up 2 in the first half. They sat him. Comes back in the second half, plays a bunch of minutes, doesn't even pick up a foul. Like, he's just come so far, you guys. Seriously. And we were all wondering, right? Because he hadn't shown a ton of growth between his first year and I don't know. He was playing pretty well in the tournament last year, wasn't he? He could only stay in the game like 12 or 13 minutes without fouling out. But those are impact minutes he was playing. This year, he's just kind of, he's added to that where he's still playing with that passion and that excellence, but he's able to spread it out over 25 minutes or maybe even 30 if he has to. So, big time improvement from Austin. And he was a terrible free throw shooter last year, and now he's good again. 5 of 7 from the line. Some of those were late in the last couple of minutes, and they really needed him, and he was buckets. So, I know Andy was talking on the broadcast about this being his mom's birthday. So, I'm sure with Vicky in the house, and maybe that's a big deal in their family or whatever. My family is like, but whatever. Every family's different. Let's see. Chip gives me some great news here. Says Wake is up on Duke by 4 in overtime. Please keep me updated on that. When Duke loses, I am really fired up and happy to hear that. And Duke took the big L against North Carolina State the other day, which made me happy. And, yeah, I like it when Duke loses. Makes me really happy. Let's see. Hornatius says, Wiley did well, but he would have scored over 20 if he didn't miss a few gimmies. He was solid tonight. Always looking for the negative, aren't you, Hornatius? I know you. You're always coming up with something like that. But anyway, I appreciate you giving him some ups because he deserves that. Nacho Hombre comes through with a super chat. Nacho, glad to have you back, bro. Says Auburn basketball is the best thing since crack cocaine. Okay. Hadn't really thought of, it about that way, but okay. Hey, that's good for you. Appreciate you, Nacho. And we got one coming through from Nick S., last name redacted to protect his ambidextrosity. Nick S. comes through, says, go Wake. That's the attitude. That's what I like to hear, Nick. Thank you very much for that, sir. I know you've been moving around in the Wiregrass and other areas around here, spreading the joy of tasty alcoholic beverages, and it's appreciated, brother. See, Canoe Man says, let's go Deacons. Yeah, we're fired up about that. You guys keep me updated on that because I'm pretty fired up. Raven says, what's everybody else enjoying? I'm finishing off this bottle of Blade and Bow. I like some Blade and Bow now. Of course, you get a key when you buy a bottle of Blade and Bow. Chip updates us and says 96-92 Wake under 20 minutes. Under 20 seconds, excuse me. Now it's 96-95. I want to take a real quick look at the standings because the Auburn Tigers have moved up a spot, at least for the moment. Here are the latest SEC standings with Auburn in second place now. LSU and Florida, I believe, are going at it tomorrow, which is going to be a ball game. Kentucky beat, I believe it was A&M earlier. They beat somebody by 9. So that was a solid one. And then Auburn, of course, is playing in Rupp on Saturday. Auburn beat UK in the Auburn Arena maybe 3 weeks ago. And UK's been playing better basketball. Auburn's been playing fine, too, honestly, when they're not on the road. And then the road games, it's like either they're completely out of it or they fight really hard. I mean, they fought really hard at Mississippi State. It's very tempting to say Auburn can't play on the road because they got crushed at Alabama, they got crushed at Florida, and then they had these recent ones that the less we say about them, the better. But they played really well at Arkansas, and they played really well at Mississippi State. So, I mean, they can play well on the road. But Kentucky's a different beast. Canoe Man, is that a wrap? Canoe Man says he reports 96-95 Wake. So I'm hoping that's a final. Blake D, our most positive poster, says yes, Kentucky beat A&M. Okay, so that's what it is. And one way or another, that's going to be number 1 and number 2 in the league going at it head to head. That's going to be a dogfight, as the kids say. I did have an exchange on the Twitter today with Kyle Tucker, who covers UK for The Athletic, the fine beat writer there. And he was noting that Ashton Hagans, a young man from Georgia who chose Kentucky over Auburn in the recruiting process, has had a bunch of games here lately where he's kind of not playing very well. And if you guys remember, that was kind of the case with them last year too, that Hagans he was really, really good through January. Once they got into February, he just started losing a lot. And I look at it as powering down. He just kind of ran out of gas. And so the theory now is that he's starting to run out of gas too. Now, Kentucky hadn't had any trouble racking up these dubs. In fact, I have their Ken Palm cut and ready to show you guys. This is UK's Ken Palm for the season so far. It does not include their win against Texas A&M tonight, but that's not my fault. I blame that Mr. Pomeroy for that one. But you can see Kentucky's won 7 in a row now and won, well, a whole boatload of games with the exception of that loss to Auburn. These teams are not necessarily all that great. I mean, beating LSU last week was big, but beating State, State's solid. Tennessee's solid. Vanderbilt's poor. Ole Miss at this point, you probably have to say they're poor. LSU's a good team. They beat them, and then Florida is, I don't know how to categorize Florida. They're either good-ish or a little bit better than mediocre. I can't tell yet because they tend to slip up, right? But so that's a look at the Kentucky Wildcats, and Ashton Hagans, their point guard, is, like I said, he's someone to keep an eye on because he's been less and less effective. It's been his effectiveness has been waning, we'll say. And the thought is, at least what Kyle was saying, was that Ashton is such a high work rate guy on the defensive end that, you play 25 games and he just starts wearing out, man. He just plays so much defense. I don't know if I buy that, but bottom line is they need to get him zapped up for this game against Auburn because it's going to take that. Believe me, it's going to be a zoo in there. I mean, people are going to be fired up. Kentucky folks are going to be fired up. I know you guys like to joke about how, Auburn's the new kid in town and we're going to, we're putting down our flag and we're taking over this conference. But the people at Kentucky have been doing this for 40 or 50 consecutive years. And they take Auburn seriously up there. I know that because I talked to them, 2 or 3 years ago. They laughed at me and were like, oh, does Auburn think they're going to win? And now it's a totally different attitude with those people. They're concerned and they want legit intel on, how's Isaac? Which guy's been really improving? What's going on with Austin? Why is he so efficient? Et cetera, et cetera. Don't you start with me? Oh, I should have known if it was Hornatius, it was some BS. So Chip now says it looks like they're going to be going to a second overtime. God. Anyway. So that's going to be an awesome game for sure. I'm not going to be able to make that one myself. I would love to go. You guys know, as we've talked about many, many times, I am a UK graduate, class of 98, and really don't care much about Kentucky anymore because I've been down here so long. I've pretty much spent my entire adult life here. But I don't know. I like going to good games at Rupp when it involves Auburn. Auburn has not won in Rupp, I think, since 88, I think it was. And in general, the games are really ugly. But I'm sure there's going to be a temptation on all of our parts to think, Auburn's probably going to go out there and lay an egg, and it doesn't matter. And you're right. If they lose by 20, I mean, depending on what happens with LSU and Florida, Auburn would probably retain the second position in the standings, and nobody would care at all. But I don't know. You're getting to a point as a program where you don't accept losses anymore. You don't just take them and say, whatever. You know, it's that whole Tony Barbie thing where it's like, well, we'll get him next time. Yeah. That ain't how Auburn approaches it now. It's a different world. They're 24-4. I mean, we all know that BP's not got a whole lot of friends out there that want to champion him as a great coach. You know what I'm talking about? But to take this team with the warts that it has and the shortcomings that it has and to go 24-4 right now is insane. It's insane. I think the dude at Dayton's doing a hell of a job too. And Brian Dutcher at San Diego State's doing a hell of a job too. But I think BP, he's getting a whole lot out of this team. Remember, this is supposed to be a rebuilding year, guys. And he's way ahead of last season's pace. I mean, 11-4. Crazy. Let's see. Going back to the chat, I've been going off the rails a little bit here. TD says 40 or 50 years. It goes back further than that. My grandfather would have won a natty there had he stayed. Was on the practice team for his freshman year with 4 others who went on to win. Oh, so you're talking about Kentucky, right? Kentucky fans. I'm just telling you, my whole life, I was born in 72. Although, as I told you guys, when I was younger, I was a Louisville fan because my parents are from Louisville. But we paid attention to Kentucky, and it wasn't a family situation where they pooped on Kentucky. It was like big game, big game. So, yeah, you're right. Goes way back to Adolph Rupp. Years and years ago. Phil Petway says we got our doors blown off last year. Absolutely. That was the game. Auburn went up to Rupp about this time last year and lost by about 25, 30, something like that. And we were all like, And then what happened? They got the close win against Georgia with a big shot from Choom, and they just kind of got going. I mean, this team has a higher ceiling than I thought they did, let's say 2 weeks ago. And you know why? Because Jalen had another good game tonight, a sneaky good game. Didn't get a ton of minutes. Let's take a look at the box score here. I think he finished with 8. Jalen finishes with 6, on 3 of 4 shooting, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks. Look at that. But there's nothing bad. 0 turnovers, 0 fouls. And he goes plus 11 in 13 minutes, which is really doing something. That kid, he's going to be good. He's going to be good, and I think he's going to be good for like a while. He is a lot more advanced than I thought he was going to be, and probably what y'all thought he was going to be. And remember now, I mean, I don't know this coaching staff. They're fired up for him. They signed him, and BP been recruiting him for years, but I don't think they thought he would be able to help them much this year, and here they are. Chip's got some great news. Says that Wake Forest is up 104-97. And then Canoe Man says Duke ball with a running clock. Almost what Andy says. Andy says counting clock. Wake Forest leads 104-97 with a counting clock. Blake D says Jalen's effort and court vision are remarkable. Agree completely. That behind-the-back pass for the dunk tonight was insane. He had the ball off the backboard for a slam the other night against Tennessee. He's got some real special things about him, man. He's got kind of what I would call a flair trait. That's what we would call it in the FIFA world. Captain Eagle Flygood has got some advice for us. He says, if you want my opinion, Jalen Williams is a high-ceiling basketball player. Guys, you heard it here first. Captain Eagle Flygood. My man, Hornatius is standing O for Jalen. Spelled it wrong, but it's okay. I'm going to do a sitting O for him. Give it up, guys. Keeping him eligible says Jalen's putback was great as well tonight. Yes, he played really, really well. I mean, not the star player tonight. I don't necessarily think he needs to be the star player. But just to know that you added another body off the bench, and what it really does is it looks like it's kind of taken away from Jamal a little bit. Jamal didn't play much the other night against Tennessee, and he gets 3 minutes tonight, 0 of 1 from the floor, and that's it. So he's getting de-accentuated a little bit. You know, Jamal's a liability on defense, and if he's not shooting threes, he's probably not helping, and he hasn't been hitting much from three-point range here lately. So I think Jalen, even though he doesn't play that position, I think they shift it so that Jamal doesn't get as many minutes. And also, I thought a huge thing tonight was, I think, let's see, Samir picked up his 4th foul with 7.5 to go, I think. And Samir being out is a real problem because you guys know he's the shooting guard all the time. And then when Javon comes out, he's the combo. He's the backup point guard. So when he gets his 4th foul with 7.5 to go, it's like, ay. Now Javon's got to play no matter what. And I don't know who plays shooting guard. Well, the answer was Devin Cambridge. And you know Devin's kind of touch and go. But he comes in and had a big 3. He had a couple big 3s there in the second half. And he kind of was able to get that 3-minute period to get back to Samir so he could play with the 4th foul. Huge, man, because when he went in there, I was like, oh boy, there's a lot of pressure on Devin to be good right now and to carry that load for the next whatever segment is what Joe Champ used to call them, 4-minute segments. It was good, man. He was good enough. He had that steal and the slam in transition, and then he had a 3 in the corner. So definitely it helped them a lot to get through Samir's foul trouble. We got Nacho Hombre coming back through. Said, can we get the uploads back on the iTunes? I rarely have time for both the games and the drain, but I need them both in my life. Nacho, it can be done. And if you know what, if you're asking nicely, I'm going to do it. Just that's something I have to do like in the mornings. But I can do that, no doubt, and I will. I want to write it down. Thank you, sir. All right, we got it. Let's see. Jason H., last name redacted to protect his anonymity, says that it's 107.99 Wake with 58 seconds to go. I like the sound of this a lot. This is really, things are looking up, guys. Phil P. says if we win Saturday, we can win the league. That is a true statement. That'd be 2 wins over Kentucky in the same year. It's been done before, but it's not common. I wonder when the last time Auburn swept Kentucky in the regular season is. I bet it has been a minute. I mean, it's been at least since 88. The temperature's about 88. Hop in the water plug just for old time's sake. It's a wrap, guys. It's from the 80s. Raven says, could you imagine if we hit threes? It would be amazing. Yeah, 4 for 14 again tonight, right? Yeah, so the threes were not exactly hot. They weren't exactly hopping tonight, but Auburn did what it does. They were driving downhill. They got to the line. What about Ole Miss going 17 of 19 at the line? That's a hell of a performance. Big time over there on Breon Tyree, who is Ole Miss's number 1 scoring option, goes 3 of 19 from the floor. Makes up for it by going 8 of 9 at the line to help kind of stem a poor performance there, but 16 points. That really says something. You can get 16 points out of a 3 of 19 performance. And you got to give Isaac a lot of credit on that. He was on Tyree a lot of the night. That's the kind of stuff that happens. You know, Isaac, we talk a lot about the crazy things he can do as an athlete, shooting the ball, getting to the hole, but his defense on the ball is a real problem, and he just can harass people and harangue people to absolute death just to frustrate the hell out of them. And Breon Tyree, he's not going to look back on that one very fondly, is he? Chip says, JGT lips to bottle if Duke loses. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, listen, I'm pretty fired up, and I will definitely take a pour, but lips to bottle over Wake? I don't know. Remember that time that they lost to, was it Campbell? No, it was Mercer. They lost to Mercer in the NCAA tournament. I would go lips to bottle for that. Oh, that's great, man. I love that. Phil P says, if we make the Sweet 16, do you consider this a good year? Hell yes. Absolutely. No doubt about it, man. I mean, I already think it's a great year, honestly, for Auburn. I mean, 24-4 at this point, and look, they're going to win more games. They're going to get the double bye in the SEC tournament. They're going to get in the NCAA tournament. Auburn doesn't get the NCAAs a bunch. I mean, yeah, this is a tremendous year. Absolutely. Huge. There was something else. Let's see. Captain Eagle Flyget says, how was the overall game day experience, JGT? Are you talking about at UK or what? I'm sorry, I missed the context of that one, but they don't have, the Eagle didn't fly good at UK. Not at all. I don't know if the Wildcat cheered good. their Wildcat gets real involved in the cheerleading. UK's cheerleaders are like nationally competitive. I mean, they're really trying to be good cheerleaders, and their Wildcat likes to get involved. That's as close as you get to an animal there. AU Taxman makes a very good point here. It says this was supposed to be a bit of a rebuilding year. We might win the conference. I mean, here you are at the end of February, and yeah, you're right. You got a legit shot. You win at Rupp. You're going to be in the driver's seat to win the conference. It's insane. It's a tremendous coaching job, and I've said this on the bunker. I've said it on the brain drain. I feel like the folks here on the show know what I'm talking about when I say this. 24-4. I mean, this season has been. They've overachieved. The statistical markers suggest this team should not have won 24-4. They should be more like 20-8, or maybe even below that. Is it luck? I don't really look at it as luck. I just look at it as they've got seniors. They get the job done in the clutch, and they're kind of all or nothing, right? When they lose, they really get crushed. And when they win, they have to kind of dig it out, but they get it done. That kind of skews the stats a little bit and makes things look worse than they really are. But will Johnson be with the team next year? That's a good question. Just knowing Jamal like I do, yeah, I think he will. I don't think Jamal is one of those kids who's like, I'm going to be the next Kobe Bryant. I need my touches, or I'm going to beat it and go down the road. That doesn't strike me as a Jamal attitude at all. He's a team guy. He's a nice, level-headed person, and I think they'll find a niche for him. He's better than he's been playing. Okay, he's had a rough, let's say, 6-game stretch here where he hasn't hit much, and defensively he's got work to do. I think some of this can be fixed. I think he'll get a little. Maybe he's certainly not fat, but I think they'll work on his explosiveness during the offseason and get him next year to a point where he's maybe a better defender. He learns some techniques and stuff like that. That way he's not such a liability on that end of the floor. Work on his shot, maybe work on a little bit of driving. He'll be better. I don't ever think he's going to be like an ace starter for this program, but I don't necessarily think they signed him to be that. They signed him to be a rotational guy who is not an asshole. Like, he's a good kid, and he's coachable, and he's a leader, and he's just – you need people like that. You don't need a ton of them, but you need some, and yeah. I don't think he's going to beat it. Jason Hill's giving me some more good information here. 111-101 with 36 seconds to go. This definitely sounds like a Wake Forest victory to me, and I'm pretty fired up. Chip says Wake Forest is storming the floor. Oh, really? You're supposed to act like it's no big deal. Because it's just Duke. Who cares? Imagine if they had gotten out of that North Carolina game, that they somehow found their way to win that. Joke. Andrew B says, hot damn, Wake pulled it off. Game over, 113-101. That's a wrap. This is Danny Manning right here. My man, Danny the Miracles. I remember 1988. Is that right? Kansas? Oh, yeah. Who are we talking about? Flanagan? I wasn't really talking about Flanagan. We were talking about Jamal. There was a question. Were y'all asking about Jamal? You might have said somebody else. I might have just totally missed that. I was talking about Jamal. It's been a frustrating 6-game run for Jamal. But he's always got a roll in here. I don't know. I got a little wobbly-headed because I found out that Wake was going to beat Duke, so I was pretty fired up about it. Getting back to Captain Eagle Fly Good, you said the Eagle, Jay. I'm talking about the frickin' Eagle. I wish they would fly the Eagle. I wish I could see that more than just at the football games. But they don't do it. Maybe the Eagle doesn't like being indoors. I don't know. I'm not the Eagle guy. Last time I got involved in the Eagle story, I got yelled at. That's a true story. Remember back when the Eagle got sick? This is like probably 15 years ago now. Like the Eagle got sick and they were being all weird about it and didn't want to tell anybody. And I was like at the newspaper at the time. I was like, "Gonna get me a big story, bro." And then I started talking to the vets and stuff. And of course I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not pretending like I do. And I got yelled at. And that was pretty much it for me. Melee says, oh, dadgone, I missed it. Canoe Man coming through with the super chat says, cheers to Wake. Absolutely. This is right here. This is for Danny Manning again. This is my second shot for Danny Manning. And thank you for the John Emerald. This is good, man. I hope I don't make anybody angry when I say this, but I really like this John Emerald a lot better than the Clyde Mays if you're talking about Alabama bourbon. Yeah. It's got kind of a weird finish, though. I don't know what it tastes like. Almost like like minty, kind of like a peppermint or something. I don't know. You don't normally taste that. 91 something studio says I will be at the A&M game, and you let us have that twice just to make sure we knew. Okay, that's good. Is that going to be your first game? I bet you that's going to be your first game. Uh-oh. Are you going to try to spam the chat now with your I'll be at the A&M game thing? Because I'm going to knock you out of the park if you do that again. Caddy Wumpus comes through with a super chat. This or a stripper pole? Okay, 91 something. Everybody wave bye-bye. Bye. He gone. Bye. How dare you come into our chat and try to take over like that? Keeping him eligible says, try the John Emerald Double Oak, very vanilla. I like the sound of that. May have to hit that. This is just what showed up in my mail today. I need more information about who sent that. I think I know who it was, but I'm not for sure. Captain Eagle Flygood says John Emerald uses peach wood, and it gives it a really strange finish. Yeah, it is a strange finish. It's not like bad. It's just I'm not ready for it. It doesn't taste like anything else. Blake D says, okay, bud, we get it. You're going to be at the A&M game. Now Hornatius says he'll be at the A&M game. Phil Pitway says, I think he's going to the A&M game. It's huge. Huge. What else stuck out today? Danjel. Let's talk about Danjel a little bit. So, offensively, not a huge game. I mean, 6 points on 3 of 5 shooting, but he was pretty dang spirited on the defensive end. He had a couple steals, had a couple deflections, and I thought he was playing with a lot more heart today, whether that was because Jalen's kind of cut into his playing time or what, but I thought he played better. I felt like they were getting a lot of effort out of him. 27 minutes. He finishes -2, which is not great, but I don't know. I thought that was a step forward for him. I'd probably give him a B tonight. That's the highest grade I would have given him in probably 6 or 7 games. Jason Hill correctly surmises that LSU at Florida tomorrow night is going to be a big game for Auburn. LSU's schedule after UF is a cakewalk schedule. Let's take a look at that. Let's go to the big board on that one. LSU. All right, the LSU Tigers are currently 19-8 and 10-4 in league play after their win against South Carolina the other day. So they're playing Florida. Then they've got A&M at home, at Arkansas, and then home against the Georgia Bulldogs. I think Arkansas is going to give them trouble, but yeah, the other two are freebies. Yeah, the other two are freebies. A&M's been playing better, but mostly at home. And then Georgia's, I don't know, one-man show. One man's pretty damn good, but it's a one-man show. Let's be real about it. Canoe Man says, I'm going to drain after the A&M game. Canoe Man also says, cornrows. Did notice a different hairstyle for Danjel today. He had the cornrows, and maybe that got him going. I don't know. Oh, they tried to hold you out, Andrew B., with your profane use of the word, well, I don't want to say what it is, excrement. But you're good. I'll clear that, no problem. Melee says Duke had a 98 win probability at 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Is that true? My goodness, this makes me so happy. All these people like casuals reading the show, watching the show, are like, why does JG care about Duke so much? Because everybody should hate Duke because they're terrible. They're the embodiment of all the bad things that go on. You know what I mean? I can't really find a good place to see that. Maybe it's on Stat Broadcast. I've got my Stat Broadcast set to Auburn. Let's see if I can get me a Duke on there. No, Duke's not on here. No, it would be at Wake, wouldn't it? Yeah, here we go, Wake. I'm looking at this scoring thing. Period 2. All right, so the visitors are up They were up 9. Holy shit. They were up 9 with 1 minute and 21 seconds left. Then it goes 9, 7, 6, 4, 5, 3, 0. Wow, you were right about that. My goodness gracious. I didn't doubt you. I was just saying. Layup good, free throw good, layup good, dunk good, three-pointer good, buckets. How about that? Hating it. Notorious MGM says Bama just lost John Petty for the year. Is that true? I like John Petty, man. I know he plays for the Bammers and everything. He's a good basketball player. He made himself better, you know? I hate to hear that. If that's true. Time for some chapstick. Hell yeah, man. Blah, 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 blah. Gotta have that. This is good chapstick. I hope Linda gets me some more. Is it almost time for us to have some callers? I'll tell you what, I'll fire it up. People, we were talking about it on the bunker the other day. We used to take calls for the football and during football games, and everybody was calling in back then. We would take, first of all, we'd go like 3 or 4 hours, and then we would take 25 calls. It just seems like it works better on basketball if we just do shorter shows, and we haven't been taking calls. I've just been kind of going with the chat, and then we talk to B-Matt and Nate and maybe Jay Lee, although it's probably past Jay Lee's bedtime now. And just kind of going that way. Let's see. Jason H. says, also, JGT, UF could be the big conference mover late. Check the schedule for them. Definitely. I'll take a look right now at Florida's. The remaining schedule for Florida. Let's see. They got LSU at home tomorrow night. Then they're at Tennessee, at Georgia, and then they finish at home against Kentucky. So that's tougher. That's definitely tougher. I'm not necessarily worried about Georgia away. But at Tennessee could be a problem for them. LSU obviously is a problem for them, and then Kentucky's a problem for them. So Florida's got a tough road ahead. Yeah, definitely. And Auburn's really isn't too bad. I mean, I've got the schedule up here. We'll take a look at it. Hold on. I mean, this at Kentucky game is going to be tough, but A&M at home really shouldn't be too bad. And then at Tennessee, I don't really know what to think about that Tennessee game. I mean, they're going to be pissed after conceding what they did in the Auburn Arena. They probably should have won that game, and they got Auburn. So I'm thinking they're going to be pretty fired up. And they're a pretty decent team, so I don't know. I still think, based on the difficult schedule that Florida's got, that Auburn still finishes top 4, even if it loses Kentucky and Tennessee. Because that means that Mississippi State or South Carolina would have to make a big jump up to interfere with that, and I just don't see it happening. Because if you look at Florida's got troubles here. They got some gnarly games coming up. But, yeah, from an Auburn perspective, you would definitely want Florida to beat LSU tomorrow and give Auburn a full game ahead of LSU at this point, knowing that you've got 2 really tough games left. So, yeah. That's the situation there. And Ole Miss, man. I'm the dummy that was out there saying I thought Ole Miss was going to step it up and be playing better this time. That, they had a tough start. And I was like, no, man, they're better than this. They're definitely better than this. And then they started to turn it around. And I was like, I'm going to be a genius again. And then guess what? They're back in the gutter again. It happens. Doug D says, who can finish down low for us? Just in general, I guess Austin. Is that what you mean? Austin, Jalen. Wouldn't necessarily call Ant that. But wouldn't necessarily call Danjel that. Javon, well, if down low means a 5-foot teardrop, and then Samir will take it to the hole, and Okoro will take it to the hole. So I don't know. Isaac's a really good ISO player. He'll back people down all day if they give it to him. I don't know. Melee says, I could absolutely see us losing out. Hope not. But then putting in work in the SEC tournament. Yeah. Oh, man. The rule of thumb is that when you get into the postseason, you're looking at guard play. Which teams have the best guards? When you have the best guards, you've got a big advantage. It doesn't mean you're going to win, but you have a big advantage over a team that doesn't have great guards. Does Auburn have great guards? I think we could argue that, right? I mean, they have experienced guards. But, like, Javon's good, like, every third game. And Samir's good, like, every second game. And if you just happen to hit them on both of them are on a down cycle, they're not very good. And Jalen helps a lot. And I think that as time goes on, I mean, 5 games from now, I think he can help more just because he's used to it. He's used to being out on the court and kind of getting a feel for the game. But I don't know if he's going to fix you at guard. I mean, Devin's come on a little bit, but I still don't trust him to play like that every game. I don't know. I think it's going to be trying to get him home with one headlight the whole way. And I think BP's done an awesome job of coaching this team, like National Coach of the Year conversation. But I still don't think it's quite elite, man. I mean, they still went 4 of 14 from 3 tonight. It's just every night they can't hit anything. They're going to have a day at some point where they just go crazy and they go 12 of 20. And we all say, yeah, now they're back on track, but that's not really true. That was more like an outlier. Scott says, Jay, did you see the story on Isaac on ESPN? I think it was ESPN. Very interesting. If Isaac takes over, we can go to the Final Four. That was the story. It was very interesting. No, I did not see that. I missed that. Let's see. Who is the SEC tournament dark horse? Well, it's going to have to be anybody who's not in the top 4, right? So, and if it's true about John Petty, I don't know anything about that. That was just mentioned on the chat that John Petty had suffered an injury tonight. That would take Alabama out. I thought Alabama was playing some of the best basketball here lately. I mean, they just undressed Ole Miss the other night. I've not been able to see the score tonight. Yeah, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, Ole Miss. No. Probably Carolina. They just play such a weird brand of basketball. They're super, super rough. And a lot of these teams don't like it. Kentucky, Auburn, Florida State. They don't like rough basketball. And so they could get a matchup situation where I think they could get all the way to the final, just depending on the matchups. So that would probably be my dark horse. I mean, they're in 6th place, so it's not like coming out of nowhere. If it was somebody from the bottom half, I would probably say Ole Miss. But as you guys know, I'm the only guy on earth that thinks that Ole Miss is still a pretty good basketball team. I just keep thinking they're gonna catch fire, and you know we go back to that whole axiom about if you have the guards, you're better off in the postseason. They've got guards. They got a bunch of good guards. If it's true on John Petty, though, you got to think Alabama's in real trouble. He's very, very important to them. Yeah? My daughter was she's sick today. But she went to school anyway because she's tough, and then she played a full soccer game. They were victorious against the hated Mustangs of Sound Hope Elmore tonight, and she came home and puked her guts out. It was awesome. But that's just good. It's good. It's good that you can kind of, change gears. You can compartmentalize. You can say, listen, I feel bad, but I'm going to play this game, and I'm going to kick ass, and then I'm going to be sick. It's good. Blake D says his pick for dark horse is Mississippi State. Raven says Missouri. 2 good choices. Missouri's definitely playing a lot better, so that's a good call right there. Mississippi State, to me, I don't know if I'd consider them a dark horse, but just because they're pretty good. But yeah, they're decent. Jason Edge says, "What's the Petty injury?" I don't know. I was just hearing about that on the show. William S. is lying in bed listening to this now, so I can't check. What was the final score of the Kentucky game? I think it was 69-60. I know they won by 9. Let me see. Let me check on that real quick. 69-60 over Texas A&M in Texas tonight. So UK has Auburn at home, Tennessee at home, and at Florida to finish. So for them, this is going to be the big game here. They're pretty good against Tennessee at home. And I wonder about Florida. I mean, if they lose to LSU, they're going to be beleaguered. And I think Kentucky can still go down there and just steamroll them. Let me pull up the standings. Oh, I've got the standings up already. So, yeah. Kentucky's been really good lately, you guys. I mean, Auburn's the only team that's really cut into them in the SEC season. I think they lost their first or second game to South Carolina, and after that, they've been rolling. It was their 4th SEC game. Good job, Jay. But I mean, 13-2, with their first loss being January 15th, and their second loss being February 1st to Auburn. They're playing good basketball, man. You got it, William. No problem. Blake D says, hope your daughter gets to feeling better. I like that positivity. Thank you very much for the thoughts there, yo. Love the Cat says she has the Kung flu. Man, I tell you what, dude. I don't know about you sometimes. I don't think she has the flu, but I really hope not. I can't remember if they got the shot, though. I'm on a different healthcare plan, so I got mine. I'm like in line on October 1 to get my flu shot. I won't go without it. All these people I know are like, I didn't get it this year because I never get sick. And I'm like, bro, that influenza is going to slap you across your face. And when it does, you're going to be hating it. And then they say, yeah, but even though you got inoculated, you could still get it, JG. And I'm like, but I don't. Haven't had it since like 2005. I get the shot every year. Maybe that's what makes my hair so light. No, I know why that happens. It's because I go and do it. Anything going on here? No. All right. What else we got here? What are some other things that stuck out to you guys from the game tonight? Already showed the UK. This is the UK season look from Ken Palm. This does not include their win against A&M, which Ken Palm predicted to be 67-60, and it was 69-60. So pretty damn close on that one. Yeah, UK playing some good basketball. It's probably their best team in a while, right? I mean, their team last year got to the Elite Eight until they got emasculated by the Auburn Tigers, but I thought that team had some holes. They relied a lot on Ashton Hagans, even when he was, like, obviously running on empty. And, yeah, P.J. Washington was a badass, but he was one dude. And, I mean, quickly was kind of wearing down a little bit last year. I don't know. Melee says, if you're over 40, get the shot. I don't understand why people don't get the shot ever. But, I mean, if you're like 6, maybe I get it. But that's not worth it, man. I don't like getting the flu. I get all hot. I mean, you probably do too. I just hate it. And if I'm sitting in bed and I've got the flu and I'm like, I could be avoiding this if I had just gone to the daggone doctor and gotten a shot that took me 20 seconds. I can't live with myself doing that. Because that's just dumb. Melee says, JGT seems like your 4-week cough is giving up the ghost. I was coughing earlier today a little bit. But you're right, I do feel better tonight. Maybe it's this John Emerald. Maybe it's a good cough suppressant in addition to being pretty tasty, honestly. I mean, I want to drink Alabama bourbon just because, you know, I feel like that's where I'm at, you know. I mean, I'm not native Alabamian, but I've been here so long, I just kind of feel like it's my peeps, you know. But at Clyde Mays, dude, me and my man J-Dub, we went to a tasting, I should say, of Clyde Mays 2 or 3 weeks ago now at our favorite watering hole, and they had 4 bourbons, and I didn't like any of them. Like, I thought they were all just, like, mediocre at best. And I was disappointed because I wanted to be fired up because they're from Alabama, you know, but didn't happen. I would definitely continue to drink this John Emerald. In fact, I'm going to right now. Love the Cats. I'm not even going to push that through, bro, because I'm not Jenny McCarthy, so get off me. There's Alpha Tiger coming through with a really classy comment. It says, any fans trying to send opposing players back to where they came from tonight? Thanks, Alpha. It's great having you on the show. I think Alpha was on the board earlier, unhappy that we weren't taking calls on the brain drain. And just for what it's worth, the Skype's been up for like 15 minutes and not one call coming through. I know we haven't really been doing it, so people aren't conditioned to do it. But TD says, Alpha Tiger, had our students had any wit, they would have told every Ole Miss player to go back to their hometown. AU Taxman says Clyde Mays isn't made in Alabama. It's made in Florida, isn't it? They're building a distillery in Dothan or Troy or somewhere down there. Ozark. I'm not sure where. So at that point they will. But TJ Briggs says, let's get Neal on this thing. Get Neal on the show. Do we want to do that? I mean, do we just want to like punch him in the face with it or what? Is that what we're trying to do? We got a call coming through. Let's see if this is just a prank call or if this is somebody real. Hey, caller, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Fire guess.
Who I got on the horn today?
Alfa Tiger. You said you were taking calls.
Oh, it's great to have you, Alpha. Thanks for coming on the show, bro.
Appreciate you having us tonight. Big win, huh?
I think so. Hell yeah. Typical win. I mean, the way it goes, they play well and then they suck, and then they play well and then they suck, and they finished it out strong tonight. That's good. It's good to see.
Well, I just got on the show a little late, getting back to the hotel from dinner. But what do you think? What do you think Kermit's teams always play Bruce so well?
Because Bruce's teams
it seems like they're not a very good team, but they always play us very well.
I feel like Bruce's teams don't adjust well to changing defenses, and Kermit's always got like 8 defenses ready to go, and he just throws a bunch of shit at BP all the time. It's not something that BP works on a lot in practice. He thinks it's a waste of time, which it generally is, but when you're playing Kermit, it hurts you a little bit. I still think Auburn's a little slow picking up on these defensive changes. I mean, I know today we saw from Ole Miss, we saw man, we saw 2-3, we saw 3-2, and we saw 1-3-1 tonight. And Auburn was just good enough to get through it.
Do you think Kermit's going to turn things around at Ole Miss, or do you think he's going to eventually fizzle out after another year or so?
That's a tough one, man. I mean, coming into the year, I thought Ole Miss did a hell of a job to hire him. I mean, he's not a splash hire, but I think he's a smart hire. I don't know. They've underperformed this year. I think he's got 2 more years. I think he's going to be good. I just don't know if he's going to be runaway good. This season's really kind of soured me on him a little bit, honestly. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I guess after the last 2 games, seeing Jalen Williams step up and Cambridge, starting to get more and more minutes and coming through some clutch threes. Do you think you have probably a more positive outlook after the last 2 games of this team going into the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament than you did probably this time last week after the Georgia game?
Yeah, I mean, Jalen in particular, because I think Jalen's got a really high ceiling, and I feel like he's getting there quickly. Devin, for me, I don't really trust Devin right now. I mean, I think he's got a really high ceiling too, but I think it's a couple years off. He just seems too erratic. But Jalen does things in the open court that most kids his age can't do. He's got some Isaac Okoro vision and stuff. I don't know. I really like him, and I think he could be a big part of what makes them good in March. It'd be weird, though. I mean, he just started playing, this week?
For the last 2 games, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
and to think if we got into the SEC tournament that he could be like one of their 3 or 4 best players is weird. It's a weird idea. I don't know what changed.
Do you think he's been there all year, or do you think he's been there all year? Or do you think that Bruce was maybe just had some reservations, or maybe he just wasn't quite ready, and that Bruce just really knows what he's talking about when he was finally ready?
I don't. That's a great question, Alpha. It's a really good question. I mean, I don't know as though it really matters because the fact is he's balling out right now, and that's the thing. But I don't know. He's not an immature kid at all, and he's a hardworking kid. He always has been. So it's not like, he was in the doghouse and he was digging out. That was not the issue. I think maybe just defensively they were concerned about him, but he's just played at such a high level on the scoring end that it doesn't really matter. And he's been solid on the defensive end. He's got quick hands. Mm-hmm.
If you had to put a guess on it right now, how far do you think this team would go in the tournament?
I think they get knocked out in the round of 32. Because I think the NCAAs, they're going to give them a hard road.
Well,
I just think that's what's going to happen. It's all about matchups, though. We won't really know until the matchups are unveiled with the March Madness bracket. And if they get some gnarly team that's super physical and stuff, that's going to be harder to deal with than a team that's just a bunch of really fast dudes that want to run in transition. Auburn's better at that,
Yeah. There was a thread on the bunker a couple of days ago that you answered the initial question, and some folks asked kind of a follow-up as to why you thought what you said. But there was a question about if you enjoyed covering Bruce or Tuberville more, and you said Butch out of all 3. He wasn't an option until you threw him out there. What stands out about Butch to you that made you kind of changed the entire subject of the thread.
I just thought it was like, who's your favorite guy to cover? Well,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I just thought.
No, I don't mind. I really like Butch because he's just super, super real, and he never takes offense to any questions we ask him. And neither does Tommy or BP, but I don't know. Butch just feels like a dude I'd hang out with. BP, he's a basketball coach, and it takes some getting used to with him, even though he's a really nice dude and he's very cool with reporters. He understands what we do. And then Tubb is like the ultimate just sit around and gossip with him. He knows everything that's going on around the league and outside the league. He was just great at always having scoop and gossip about UCLA or Washington State or Temple or whatever. He would always know the scoop, and it was just fun talking to him about it. It's really weird to see him as a U.S. Senate candidate now, because it's just not the guy I know, or knew. But good for him. I hope he wins.
Just one last question. How many wins do you think old Gus needs to stick around Lee County next year?
To stick around, that's a good question. If he goes under 7, he's going to get fired. The regular people that want to fire him, they still want to fire him, right now. And I thought they were going to win because they don't lose very often, but I was wrong this time. So he's going to probably need to win. I think at 8 they wouldn't fire him. He needs to win 9 though. And I don't see why he shouldn't. I mean, because LSU's not going to be as good next year. They're not. And he finally got the Georgia and Alabama games separated a little bit, so that gives you some breathing room. And I don't know.
Then they put LSU right before Alabama.
I know, that's true, but I think LSU's going to take a big step back next year. I don't think it's going to be as bad, even though Auburn's having to deal with that right against the Alabama game. But at least it's not going to be that both games away, both games at home switch. It's going to be staggered. So I think that's a little more palatable. It's the only thing, having both Alabama and Georgia away in the same year, that's worst case scenario. And then having LSU and Alabama back to back is the next to worst case scenario. They didn't get a lot of relief on that, did they?
Nothing free.
No.
All right, Tater, I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you, Alpha. You behave yourself out there.
Have a good night.
See you, bro. Alpha Tiger, ladies and gentlemen. Calling in from the 404. Chip says, Gus is still here? Fuck. Georgia Rebel in the house says, what up, JG? Good to have you here, Georgia Rebel. Appreciate you. I should know if it's an Ole Miss game, you might be hanging out. You're always welcome here, of course. Let's see. Love the Cat says, Alpha sounds like a marble mouth. That's not very nice. I understand everything he's saying. Actually, he's easier for me to understand than you are. Yeah, you hear what I said? You seem kind of hyped up whenever I hear you talk. You got a lot to say. I asked Neal if he wanted to come on the show, and he just didn't answer me at all. Let's see if Mr. Nathan wants to come on. He was our de facto. He was our writer tonight. And we'll check in with him. Let's see. Looks like Canoe Man is pushing for William Stovall to phone it in. I think I know why, too. Because he mentioned that he was in bed earlier, just like Brian. Ay. Georgia Rebel says the Rebels suck. Can't win unless Brian Tyree goes for 30. A lot of players are not good enough for SEC player. Yeah, well. I mean, Henson's pretty good. Tyree's good. Schuler's good. I think Buffin is good and will get better. Maybe after that it's a step down a little bit, but it's a lot of good players, though. I don't know. Let's see. Melee says, does anyone else feel like Mike Leach is on deck? For what? I don't know. I'd like to answer that, but I don't know. I think Nate is writing. Apparently, William does not want to come on. Doug D says he found somewhere that Okoro was projected to be a top 5 pick. Could be, man. He's a very versatile player. Does a lot of good things. He's not bad at anything. I don't know as though he's elite at a bunch of stuff, but he's good at a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Georgia Rebel says Schuler and Henson have been meh this season. Yeah, I mean, I know. I still think they're players, though. A lot of people at Ole Miss, outside of Brian Tyree, have been meh this year. I'm just not sure what to think about them. I thought they were good enough to be top half of the league, and when they started kind of sinking, I was like, this is a fluke, but at this point, I think it's just I was wrong. See, Melee says Leach is on deck. He was elaborating on that. It says, meaning one and done for somewhere else, meaning he would hit that and quit that, so to speak. You know, as much as we love hearing Mike Leach talk, and he's very entertaining as a speaker, I'm not sure that everybody wants Mike Leach at their school, because Mike Leach, as entertaining as he is, he's not super successful. I mean, he needs to be in the right place to be successful. He needs to be somewhere with middling expectations, I think, because fundamentally his system is going to tax his defense beyond its breaking point frequently. I mean, you think about 5 years ago, Will Muschamp lecturing Gus Malzahn about how his offense screws up the defense, and they don't take nearly as many chances. They don't take nearly as many 3-and-outs as that Mike Leach air raid stuff does. And I'm telling you, after like the second 3-and-out, Kevin Steele would be at that guy's neck. Three and outs are the enemy of any defensive coordinator, especially in the SEC. So when Mississippi State has 7 of those a game this fall, it's going to be a problem. And Mississippi State's going to have some 50-point defensive games. And it's going to really piss off that defensive coordinator, whoever he is. And he'll be either get fired or he'll quit, and it'll just be one of those deals. Georgia Rebel says Okoro is a stud. I agree. Henson is just like Purifoy, just jacks shots. I guess it just seems like when I'm watching, Henson's hitting a bunch of stuff. TD says Mike Leach could not be more perfect for Mississippi State. I agree completely. It's a good spot for him because he can compete better than you think. I thought at Vanderbilt would be good for him, but really Mississippi State's probably better because he can actually get some players to Mississippi State. I have no doubt that he's going to get some players. They get players. Mississippi has players. And he can sneak into Louisiana and get a few. He can sneak into Alabama and get a few. Whatever. He's going to get some players. And he'll probably have the best players he's ever had there. But I still think just from a system perspective, there's always going to be too many 3-and-outs. And people are just going to eat him alive. Love the Cat says 3-and-outs sounds like my sex life. Okay. William Stovall. I got some bad news for you, brother, because I'm about to call BMAT. I'm cold calling him, but he should know that I'd be calling him about now. He should know. It's getting to be that time.
Hello there.
What up, B-Matt? B-Matt.
Just walking out of the arena as we speak.
Is it a long way to go, buddy?
No, I'm good, bro.
We like to joke about how winded you sound sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
That's only when you're going down the stairs, though.
I was going downstairs.
Oh.
I just went under the big AU. So I'm walking out the door now.
I want to let everybody know, I think we mentioned this on the rundown, but you absolutely schooled me in basketball the other day.
I don't think so. I think you made some good shots. I thought we were about even.
Yeah, I scored some, but you were taking me to the hole, and I had no choice. I mean, dude, I'm like 5'10" at best, and I can't jump, and you're 6'2", 3"?
6'3", and I got those Kevin McHale moves. You know that.
You do have the Kevin McHale moves. You're like spinning around me, and it's pissed me off. But, hey, clean basketball. Now, I can't say the same for Nate, but you were playing some clean basketball.
No. I saw Gianna. I asked her if she, suffered any permanent damage, but she said she was okay.
Good. I'm glad you followed up with her because that was really mean and vicious.
I felt like we had to. We might be liable for that. We could be sued and we could be out of business.
Thanks, Nate. All right, what'd you think about that game tonight, B. Matt?
I mean, it wasn't like the prettiest game in the world, and I thought Ole Miss did a good job of mixing up defenses and causing them some problems here and there. But I mean, overall, I thought that was a really important win for Auburn. I think they led from wire to wire.
They did.
You know,
yes.
even though Ole Miss gave them trouble, there were also times when they broke down that defense beautifully. I mean, there were some awesome passes. I know Jalen Williams had one behind, sort of behind his back there, no look, and I think Isaac Okoro had a nice one there. I thought Auburn did the best job they have all season of getting the ball inside to Austin Wiley, and he had really one of his most efficient games, I thought, of all season. Scoring and shooting and rebounding and such. I was pretty impressed, and I know they didn't shoot well from three-point line again, but they didn't take as many shots as they have been taking, and I thought that helped make a difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you that Austin Wiley, he's my MVP. I retweeted something that you had posted where you were giving him a lot of love, and I agreed completely. I thought he was huge tonight. Absolutely huge.
He really was on both ends of the floor. Rebounded really well. Did a great job of getting the ball up and in the hole quick. Had a few dunks. Jalen had a couple dunks again. And then I guess I should mention the defense. That was probably the most important part of the game. I thought Auburn played really hard for 40 minutes defensively. Really did a good job of Bryn Tyree. I think Bruce said he's averaged about 30 points a game in the last 5 conference games. And I think he had maybe 16 on 3 of 19 shooting, something like that. I just wrote it. I should know it. But it was not a good night for him. And that's because of Samir Dowdy and the job he did defensively.
Yeah, 3 of 19. Samir and Isaac were just killing that guy. And Brian Tyree finishes 16 points on 3 of 19. That's crazy. Got to the line and hit his shot. So good for him. And then Jalen, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, a very deft dump off there for that big dunk. I thought in general, B-Matt, he didn't have a big night statistically, but I thought he played well. He's a smart player, and I've been shocked by how good he is.
He was really productive in his first rotation in the first half. Not quite as productive in the second half. But I continue to be really impressed with him. And, another factor that having him now in the lineup, Isaac has been playing a lot of 4, and they don't need Isaac at 4 anymore. They can move him to 3 or to one of those rings more permanently, wing positions. And basically now Jalen and Danjel can just split the 4 position. So if one gets in foul trouble, if one's not being productive, and I thought Danjel played pretty good tonight. They can lean on the other guy. And to me, this is the 3rd straight game that Jalen Williams has played well. Continue to be very impressed with him, and I just see a huge upside for that kid with his size and everything he can do. He's so athletic, such a quick jumper. I believe he's going to be a good 3-point shooter for Auburn too. At some time, I think he's maybe missed a couple that he's taken so far, but still, I think they're going to start dropping him eventually.
All right, so the next game is going to be at Kentucky. I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, well, Auburn's going to probably lose that one. What is your view of that game going into it, from at least tonight?
Well, I mean, they probably will lose it, but they do have Okoro back. They're starting to really gain this identity of being this defensive team. Jalen Williams is becoming sort of the X factor now, so I wouldn't totally rule out this team, pulling the big upset. They don't win many games in Rupp Arena, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. I think a lot of things have to go well for Auburn, obviously, but I think there's still a possibility. It's a shame that the 2 games behind him now, so a win won't guarantee him a top spot, but
That's right.
It'll probably guarantee him a top 4 spot for sure. And if Kentucky slips up and the last 2 games, if Auburn can win, then they're right in there for the championship.
Yeah, that's the funky thing about this. This is supposed to be a rebuilding year for Auburn, and if they were to beat Kentucky, they'd be 1 game out of an SEC championship at 25-4. I mean, it's insanity. Yeah. We had somebody on the chat earlier, B-Matt, that said, do you think this is going to be a good year? I mean, yeah, it's a really good year.
24-4 is amazing. I mean, it really is, especially for this team that doesn't really have a whole lot of, all-stars. I mean, I know Okoro is, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's not a Bryce and Jared and Chuma. There's not like 3 superstars, although Samir's playing really, really good right now. So is Javon. I know his numbers weren't good tonight, but he still played really well defensively.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, brother. And then Isaac, I was surprised that he played as much as he did. He pretty much played a regular game. I mean, it was like 20-something minutes for him. I mean, he looked uninhibited.
The plan, Pro said, was to play him 16 minutes, but and he played. Pro said he played 8 in the first half. I looked and it was 11. But Pro said in the second half it was close. He checked with Isaac. Isaac said he was feeling fine, so he decided to keep him in there and ended up playing 27 minutes. And Isaac said he felt great afterwards.
That's good. That's big. All right, B-Matt. Off you go, bro, to Never Never Land, to Dreamland, right?
Well, actually, my daughter has enlisted me to go pick her up a milkshake on the way home, so I'm going to do that.
But it's so late, B-Matt. It's dangerous.
I know, but I'm going to get me one too. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Tough life, man.
That's the dad life, bro.
Yeah, it is. Dad bod.
All right, B-Matt. You behave yourself, bro.
All right, see you, man.
See you, bro. That is Mr. B-Matt, one of the Hall of Famers. I finally got an answer from Mr. McCready, who would like to hop on the show. So let's see if we can get Mr. Neal on here. Hell, I don't even remember the daggone number. I got it on here somewhere, though. Now I see it. That was just scintillating, guys. I had to tell him what the number was. I could have just called him. I don't know why I didn't do that. Why did I just call him? Stupid. By the way, we had a super chat come in during the break from Ben B. I definitely want to get back to that, Ben. I have not forgotten you, bro. Yeah, hello? Who's this? Hello? I don't hear him. I'll give him a call. Sorry about that, guys. I don't think I've ever had that happen before. Let's see. The old 662, huh? Oh. Personal. All right. I'm going to call Neal straight up.
This is Neal McCready with Rivals.com. I can't take your call right now.
Are you for reals? Yeah, who this?
Hello, Jay.
Is this Neal McCready?
What's going on?
Word, man. We just been over here trashing Ole Miss. We thought you might give you a call.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. That's not true.
I sorry I missed your text. I was watching the end of the Bulls Thunder game. I apologize.
No, that's cool, man. I'm not upset. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to kind of take the L on this one insofar as I talked about this on the extra on your podcast this morning. That I thought Ole Miss was gonna be able to turn this thing around, but at this point, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, you had more faith in this team than those of us who are around it a lot.
It's true.
Tonight was sort of a microcosm of their season in many ways. They, with rare exception, they don't get blown out, but they don't finish games well. Like tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they got within 2 at one point.
Yeah.
I know they got within 4, maybe 3, maybe 2 at one point, but they don't finish games. They get to that place and then they can't get over the hump. They have really bad possessions late in games, and tonight they did the exact same thing. And they had an opportunity a couple of times, but they just can't kind of get past that. They bog down a little bit, and whether it's Kentucky or Auburn or LSU or Texas A&M or Arkansas or all the list of teams that they've lost to the way that they lost tonight, that's what they do. What was the final tonight? It was
67-58.
It ended up being more than it was. Yeah, so it ends up being a 9-point game. But it was another one of those kind of games. Like this team in games that are decided by 5 points or less, they're 1-6. And tonight was kind of another one of those kind of games, if you will. I know Auburn ended up winning by 9, but you understand my point.
Yeah.
They ruin for themselves close games, and that's why they are where they are. They're 4-11 in the league, and they lose games like tonight. They've lost this game so many times this season. And on the flip side, Auburn wins these games. So people do the whole luck thing, and you and I have talked about this. I hate that word. Teams like Auburn, good teams that aren't – Auburn's not good enough this year to just go dominate the competition. I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
But they get late in games, and they find ways to win. Ole Miss, late in games, they find ways to lose, and there's a big difference in that. And, I covered Andy Kennedy for, 10, 11 years, and he always said at the end of the season, you are what the numbers say you are. And for both Auburn and Ole Miss, you are what the numbers say you are. And what the numbers say Auburn is this team that finds ways to win close games consistently, and they're going to the tournament. And for Ole Miss, they're this team that finds ways to lose close games consistently, and they're not going to the tournament. They're going to go to Nashville, and they're going to lose on Wednesday or lose on Thursday, and that's going to be the end of their season. They're going to look back at what if and what if and what if and what if, but you didn't get it done, and you are what you are.
And then it's baseball season, right?
If you say so, man. I don't know about you. I'm not a college baseball guy. Thank God for Chance that he covers college baseball for us, and I don't have to go to 56 4.5-hour games that are out there. But, yeah, whatever.
That was how I signed off on your show today. I said, thanks, Neal and Chance. You guys are great. I wonder if does it make him mad? Does it bother him?
It probably bothers him, but that's okay.
Breon Tyree finishes with 16 points on 3 of 19, Neal. Ay.
And had some good looks and just missed them. But, they've leaned on this guy all season, right? And so he's due an off game. I asked Breon on Friday before Ole Miss played Alabama, I said, you've played so many minutes. Are you feeling kind of fatigued? This was supposed to be a deep team. And he was like, yeah, thank you for noticing. I'm, late in games. I'm feeling it. And I thought Auburn defended him well. But even when he got open looks, he missed them. And so you wonder if late in the season, if he's kind of lost his legs a little bit. Breon's a great kid. He's been fun to cover for 4 years. But, tonight was the night that he had an opportunity to make shots, and he didn't make them. But that's the problem for Ole Miss, is that when Breon Tyree's not scoring, they just don't have a consistent secondary guy. And, good teams do. Good teams have multiple people that can score points, and this team doesn't. When they went on the 3-game winning streak against, I guess it was Florida, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Breon had huge games in all 3, and he carried them. And that's fine, but you can't count on that over the course of an 18-game conference season. And sure enough, he's kind of hit the wall a little bit, and there's just nobody else to pick them up. Devontae Shuler just isn't playing with a lot of confidence. KJ Buffin doesn't trust his outside game. Blake Hinson doesn't score consistently, and their bench is awful. I mean, Auburn's bench, there was a stretch in the first half where Auburn, they pushed, a 3 or 4 point lead out to 10 points with their bench, and Ole Miss had their starters on the floor. I thought to myself, Ole Miss's bench can't do that, and that's yet another difference between a good team and a team that's just not quite good enough.
Got a bunch of freshmen on that bench. I mean, Austin Crowley and Sammy Hunter and those guys. I mean, they're young. They're going to be better, but can't rely on them right now.
Well, it's going to be really interesting, Jay, to see what happens with this program moving forward. A year ago, they lost Terrence Davis, who's having a great rookie season with the Raptors, and now they're going to lose Breon Tyree, and there's rumors that Devontae Shuler is going to go play in Europe, and that will be the end of the Andy Kennedy recruits. And so it kind of comes down to the Kermit Davis guys. And look, there's a kind of a feeling around here that Kermit Davis can do no wrong. I like Kermit a lot. He's done a good job. But I think it's safe to start to ask, because he made some evaluation mistakes. And he's got to get it right. And, how many guys can you process off of a team? How many grad transfers can you go get? How many JUCO transfers can you go get? and how many late signees can you go get? And they have a top 50 player, Matthew Morrell, coming in from Memphis.
Oh, yeah.
That they're going to count on a lot. They have a transfer, Jarkel Joyner, who's originally from Oxford, believe it or not, but he started his career at Cal Bakersfield. He's transferred in, and there's a lot of high hopes for him. But man, at the end of the day, you're losing impact guys in Davis and now Tyree, guys who've scored a lot of points in this league, and you've got to find a way to replace those points.
Yeah, I mean, there was somebody asking on the chat earlier, Neal. They're like, "Hey, man, is Kermit? I mean, could there be a situation maybe next year if they have another down year where he's on the hot seat?" And I was like, "Nah, not really." But to listen to you say it, I mean, if there's some evaluation issues and they have another disappointing season, maybe Ole Miss starts to question if they're really married to him or not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't think so, but I'm not willing to go, oh no, that's insane. Here's the thing, and it's going to sound crazy, right? But Mike White's at Florida. Mike played at Ole Miss. Keith Carter, the AD at Ole Miss, and Mike White are really, really good friends. Mike's not getting fired at Florida, but if they don't have a Billy Donovan kind of a year at some point soon, does Florida start saying, hey, we have higher hopes than just making the tournament? Would Mike White come back to Ole Miss?
Hell yeah.
That's kind of the thing that's out there. And it's not exactly fair to Kermit, and it's a little premature to talk about it, but, you know, look, this team, they play Vanderbilt at home. They get Missouri at home. They got 4 wins in the league. They're probably going 6-12 in the league, probably.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they're not making the tournament. They're not making the NIT. They lose Breein Tyree, who's going to be one of the top 3 scorers in the league at the end of the season. If you told me that at the end of next season that they have a repeat of this, that's on the table, I'd buy it. Not fair, but it kind of is what it is. You know, and here's what the opposite people would say is they would look at like Bruce Pearl at Auburn and they would say it took a while. It took a little while to establish his culture, to get it going, you know, and Pearl, yeah, I know he was at Tennessee, but, you know, he kind of made his chops at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and Kermit was at Middle Tennessee. And they'll say that there's some parallel there. I don't know whether that's a stretch or not, but it'll be interesting. I mean, here's the thing in football and men's basketball in this league is that the money is so big right now and the exposure is so big right now that I don't know that any program, whether it's Auburn or Ole Miss or Tennessee or Florida or wherever, I just don't know how much time you get to truly establish yourself in one of those sports.
Yeah. It's a good point. I mean, you think – to me, I thought it was a really smart hire by Ole Miss, but to get Kermit. But now, the way you mentioned it, I mean, I would love to have Michael White at Ole Miss if I was an Ole Miss person. Just because I remember what he was like as a player. He's a badass. I liked him.
It just comes down to your ability to recruit. I mean, you know, so much of what Auburn's been able to do, and it took him a little while to get to this place, but now he's able to recruit at a national level at Auburn. He didn't do that initially.
No, he didn't.
It took him a little while. So, you know, I don't know whether Kermit can recruit at that same level that Bruce has if you give him enough time. I don't know. And here's the thing at a place like and Ole Miss and Auburn are kind of similar in terms of basketball, in terms of they've invested in these new facilities and they need to fill up the arena and that kind of thing. Auburn consistently fills up that arena. Ole Miss does not yet. And so if you can't fill up these new arenas that you build, you have to start thinking about, well, who do you go get that can bring in the energy? And it's way too early to talk about this with Kermit. I mean, they went to the NCAA tournament a year ago, and he's absolutely going to get another season. But if you told me that next season bottomed out, maybe they went 4-14 in the league or something like that, and that they had to visit that, I'd buy it. I mean,
wow.
You know, I mean, the budgets are such that you need to win.
Yeah.
And so he's got to go make some evaluation. He's got to get some evaluations correct. And much so, I don't know. It feels weird to compare Ole Miss to Auburn because Auburn's coming off a Final Four and they're going back to the tournament and all that stuff. But, you know, Bruce made a lot of really good evaluations. And he's got a team that I've told you this for a while. You and I have talked about it on Greatest Pod of the South. I like watching Auburn. They just compete. Even tonight, when Ole Miss made run after run after run at them, I never sensed any panic from Auburn. They just kind of kept rolling. And Kermit hasn't been able to instill that sort of mentality. Kermit's a blue-collar guy. He's a hard-nosed guy. He's a work guy. And he's only had a couple of years, and so he's got to have a little more time to kind of get that his personality into the program in much I think kind of the way that when I watch Auburn, I sort of see Bruce's team. But it took him a little while to get there.
It did.
So it's just going to come down to it's going to kind of come down to how long Ole Miss kind of gives Kermit Davis an opportunity to completely put his stamp on the program.
Yeah, BP had 2 really down years to start with, and his third year was just kind of so-so. There's some people in the chat that want me to mock you over the prayer circle thing, but I'm not going to do that, Neal, because you're a friend and you're a good podcaster, and we don't want to go down that road, okay?
Yeah, I just think people misunderstand that whole thing, but
of course,
it's fine.
Of course. Neal, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for being you.
Jay, thanks for having me. Thanks to all the Auburn people. I love you guys. I know you don't believe
Look at
that,
He
but
loves
I
you.
do. And War Eagle.
All right. Thank you, Neal.
Bye.
See you, bud. He loves you guys. Did you hear him say it? Neal loves you. He loves everybody in this chat. He loves Blake. He loves Canoe Man. He loves Fat Crack. He loves Ben B. He even loves Alpha Tiger. He loves all you guys. Scotty loves you. Oh, yeah, of course he does. You heard him say it, didn't you? TD, you too? Melee? Hell yeah. Neal's always gives you a good... Neal's better than I am for sure at like just the view from 10,000 feet. He does a great job with that. The administrative assistant walked in. Do you have any news for me or anything? Nothing at all? Oh, word. Is the daughter feeling better? All right. There we go. We love at Ole Miss Sports. I call it the Rebel Groves. That's what I call it over there. And then Neal and Chance. Good folks. Alpha Tiger says, what do you mean, even you, Alpha Tiger? You're kind of a pain in the butt, Alpha Tiger. You're not very nice. But that's okay. I'm assuming that you're just not a very nice person sometimes. Because you like to ride ass on the bunker. And, yeah. But you're cool. I appreciate you calling in. You certainly weren't that way on the show earlier. So that was great. Canoe Man says, I think you know exactly what he means, Alpha Tiger. Thank you, Canoe Man. Appreciate you. Notorious MGM says virtual high five to Neal. David P says, what are you drinking tonight, Jay? I don't even know if administrative assistant knows this, but I was gifted some John Emerald single malt whiskey in the mail today. Oh, nice. Yeah. So this is made in Opelika, Alabama. 86 proof. It's a little young. It says that it is aged less than 4 years. So that could be 5 days, or that could be 3 years and 363 days. This is batch 135. And definitely it's sweeter than you would expect. And then it has kind of a funky finish to it. I thought it tasted like peppermint, but some of the other folks had some different ideas about what it tasted like. Nate said that he is good to go on the show, but have we already discussed this enough? Because, we had Alpha Tiger who had a bunch of good questions. We had Sir BMAT on his way out, who was going to get himself and his daughter a milkshake, and then we talked to Sir Neal McCready from the Ole Miss side, who offered us a lot of interesting insight into the situation that Kermit faces and that program faces. It's a little more daunting than I thought that it was. I thought they would be a little further along, but whatever. Chip giving us an update on the Alabama-Mississippi State game, 75-70 MSU with 1 minute to go, under 1 minute to go. Melee says, aged in the distilling coil. That's pretty funny. Now it's 77-70. Looks like Alabama's going to lose. Did John Petty ever come back, or is he out? That's going to be a very significant blow for them if he's out for reals. That's bad news for them. I don't know. There's not a lot of people here that are upset about it. I'm just saying. Canoeman says, where the hell is Nate? If you want Nate, we'll give you Nate. We'll make it quick. I feel like Nate loves being on the show, though. I mean, you want him to be. You want him to be fired up, you know? What in the world? Jumbo Shrimp Tacos are back at Del Taco for the 2020 seafood season. Brad Birch wants to know what's Auburn's all-time record on February 29th. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Alfa Tiger jumps back to defend himself by saying, I'm not a dick to everybody. All right. I don't know as though there's anybody who's a dick to everybody. Like, there's always going to be some people that you don't necessarily hate or completely loathe. Christopher Brown says, JG, should Cambridge get more minutes at the 2? I was a late join. If we talked about it already, I apologize. No problem. We talked about it just a little bit. Insofar as Samir got his 4th foul with 7.5 minutes to go, and BP needed Cambridge to be in there from 7.5 to about 3.5. Really needed a 4-minute segment there. And Cambridge was good. He had a pick, the little steal and the dunk, and then he had a 3 in the corner. And so he really did a nice job of getting, buying time for Samir to get back in the game. It wasn't really even buying time, and he was good. He was playing well. So I don't know as though he deserves more time than he has right now, because Samir is definitely a guy that needs to be out there as much as he can. But I think it would be wise to kind of power down a little bit on Samir, because I thought he's looked a little tired. Not tonight, but in the 3 games leading up to tonight, I thought he started to look a little tired, and I think it would be wise to play Devin a little bit more, just kind of like load management a little bit. That's the only reason. I don't think that Devin is like better than Samir. I just think it would be smarter to give him a little bit more time off. Sparrow Empire with a super chat says, sorry I'm late. When the hell is Jalen starting? I don't have a good answer for that one. Ben B had a super chat earlier when I was talking to BMAT that I missed, but I'm back on it now. He says, I do think Mike Leach would call into the brain drain. He's certainly welcome to. I'm going to send him the number and see what he wants to do. We could talk about like World War I strategy or whatever he likes to talk about. He's an odd character. It wouldn't be the first time I've interviewed him, though. When I was a student at UK, he was I think he was the offensive line coach for Hal Mummy at UK in 97 or 98. Some good coaches there, man. Joker Phillips, who ended up being the UK head coach. Mike Leach, who ended up being head coach at Texas Tech and Washington State before he went to Mississippi State. And there's at least one more. That was good. Can't remember who. Of course, Hal Mummy. Scotty P says, if Kermit can't recruit, then that's certainly an issue, but Ole Miss needs to check themselves before they consider running him in a year or so. He's a quality coach. I agree completely. He's like the smart choice for a coach. He's not like flashy. He doesn't have that panache that BP has, but I think he's a good coach. Hell yeah. But if it's the scenario that Neal was talking about earlier, where Kermit's kind of flatline and Michael White is kind of finding himself out of favor at Florida, at that point, I bet you Ole Miss would be willing to kind of move over and let Mike come home, so to speak. Let's see. Chris Brown says, I thought Devin was playing 2 with Flanny and Jalen in the court. Yeah, that was definitely happening. They had at least one shift where they had those 3 freshmen going, but that was when Samir had the foul trouble. So that was the reason that Samir wasn't on the court. And then they had Jalen. I'm sorry, they had Javon at point and then Wiley. It may have been Ant. Ant might have been playing 5 with those guys. But, yeah, definitely had the 3 freshmen going, and they were fine. I mean they were doing fine together. I happen to think Jalen is a better bet than Devin right now. Devin frustrates me because he has these 0 games. We've only seen Jalen for 3 games now, but he doesn't have 0 games. He's always helping. Just my thought. I'm not the head coach, though. We are going to give Sir Nate a call before we say goodnight for the night. Hey, administrator. You dirty bastard. Administrative assistant, thank you for turning on the AC a little bit there. It was getting a little bit warm. 4-8. We got to start just calling random numbers sometimes by typing the wrong number. Let's say, there's Teresa, and be like, hey, War Eagle. She'll be like, what does that mean? All right. We're calling Sir Nate King.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Tiger?
I am phenomenal. I'm phenomenal.
Did you feel like you wrote well tonight?
I feel like I did. That's up to your discretion, right, and everyone else's. Have you poured over my verbiage?
No, of course not. I've been doing the show.
Oh, great. How's that? Hey, actually, I know how it's going. I was listening a second ago when you said you're talking about the John Emerald, and there's that place in Opelika that has that, and it's really, really, really good.
Is it the distillery where they make it? Because that's where they would have it, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Because it's from Opelika, right? That's where they make it.
Yeah. Have you been there to drink it?
Yeah, it's really good.
I don't believe you. Would you drink bourbon?
I'm not as well versed as you. Okay, I just wanted to sound like I knew what I was talking about. I've had John Emerald in Opelika, and you were talking about the peppermint, and I was like, I feel like I've had that before.
Okay, good, very nice, Nate.
All right.
You're really conforming to the crew here.
Hey, that's what I do.
Isaac Okoro. I was surprised. We talked about it on the show. We thought on the rundown, I should say, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. He got basically a full night's work tonight, right? 27 minutes.
Yep, and he was only supposed to play 16 or 17, but basically Auburn looked at him and realized the game was close, and obviously he affects things very positively for them on both ends of the floor, and so they decided to keep him in, and he said he felt fine. BP said he asked him, and he felt fine at the time. He said he felt fine after the game. He looked plenty quick to me. He looked just like his old self, and Bruce said to credit a lot of that to Ira Bowman because BP didn't want to start him tonight. Kind of like against Tennessee, I think he decided not to start him, and then he was like, I don't want to play him. But Ira thought it might be a good idea to start him, let him warm up, and then start him to keep him hot, so that he doesn't go back to the bench and that hamstring gets tight again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if he was exactly 100%, but, he played 27 minutes, so that's pretty good. But they'll certainly need him at full strength if they're going to win at Kentucky.
Yeah, it's going to be a big game for sure. Wiley was the MVP, I would say, tonight. Just your thoughts on how far he's come from a year over year, man. He hits his free throws now. He stays in the game without fouling out. It's just like he's such an incredibly different player now.
Yeah, he's so important for what they're doing right now, and he's one of those guys that I hope doesn't go unremembered, from this team, because I've talked a lot about it this year about Samir and how I think he's a great scorer, and he's a great leader, and I hope when people look back at this team, they'll think about, the really good player that he was, but I hope the same thing for Wiley, because it's really, really tough to kind of mold and put a prototypical NBA center like that into your offense and into your system and make it work, because nobody does that anymore. But look, Auburn's done a really good job of that this season. There are games where his hands suck straight up, and he pulls the ball down. He makes frustrating decisions. But then I think when they don't force it and they just kind of let him be part of the flow on both sides of the ball, that's what they were doing tonight. They weren't really running things for him. He was just inhaling rebounds. He rebounded 31% of both teams' missed shots when he was on the floor. He didn't commit a foul in the second half. I thought he was really, really big. Down the stretch, he scored 9 points in the final 6 minutes. He had 2 blocks there in the final 3 minutes, one of which went right to Javon, and then Auburn scored on that possession, I believe.
Yeah.
So you just can't understate what he's doing right now for them and how important it is, because he's a guy that he's really, really dominant on the offensive glass, and when he gets up there on offense and then on defense, you can't really drive at him. He'll send it back in your face a lot of the time.
He will, just like you did to that poor AL.com girl the other day. It's terrible.
Yes, shout out to Charlie 5 for hopping on Twitter tonight and telling her that she is probably still concussed about that, and that is why she was making some questionable tweets tonight. So, thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. You're always so good about being nice. I'm just kidding. He's really not very often.
I thought of you.
I know. You know how I feel about that guy, right?
Yeah, he's great.
I make it pretty clear. Your thoughts about Auburn's chances inside Rupp Arena on Saturday, Nate King? Are you calling for the big win?
I say why the heck not? Why can't this team win? I see no reason why they can't beat Kentucky on the road. Look, they beat Kentucky by 9 points at home, and that's like their biggest margin of victory in the past month and a half over any team, because they keep just winning these clunkers.
Yeah.
And I see no reason why not. If Okoro's healthy, if Wiley's playing really well, if they get good guard play, if they limit the turnovers, if they're efficient on offense, and all of those ifs, I think they're capable of doing. Can they put them all together? I have very low confidence in that, because, look, they didn't even put all that together against a team like Ole Miss. They haven't really buried anybody this year, even against teams like South Carolina and Vanderbilt and Iowa State that they should probably beat down pretty heavily at home. Those teams just come back and almost win those games. So they really haven't put together a complete game, I don't think. Certainly not in SEC play. But maybe it's got to happen at some point, right? So maybe this is where it comes to a head. I think it'll be a great game no matter what. I think it's going to be slim pickings to go in there and get a victory. But I think it'll be a good litmus test to see where Auburn's at this point in the season, because it's not like last year when they went into Kentucky and they still had time to, obviously, they regrouped, they got back on track, they started hitting their stride, and then they went into Nashville. This is like a week before Nashville. So this is going to be kind of a good test of where Auburn's at heading into the postseason.
That's pretty big. It's going to be a big game.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We got good players.
Nate, you're always doing a good job out there. I'm looking forward to reading your fine prose, and I'm sure everybody else is too. So you're the man.
Thank you, sir.
You're my favorite person from Huntsville. You know that.
Wow, that's very nice. Yeah, John Petty is from Huntsville.
Yeah, he got hurt tonight.
I know. Thoughts and prayers.
Sad. All right, Nate, behave yourself.
Yes, sir. You as well. Have a good night.
See you, bro. Nate King, ladies and gentlemen. One of the great young reporters to cover Auburn. You can call him Nathan if you want to. Alpha Tiger says Charlie 5 makes him look like a saint. I don't know about that, but I prefer you to Charlie 5. That's for sure. Let's see. Canoe Man says Nate is a great interview. Most polished of tonight's contestants. How about that? Including yours truly, huh? Hey, you two world. It's me, yours truly. It's me, George Truly. I don't know if y'all saw that, but O.J. Simpson had a tweet today. He was complaining. He was essentially saying that since they're going to go to a 17-game NFL season next year, that everybody's going to have to get artificial hips and knees just like he did. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if that guy's speaking coherently. I don't know. Doesn't matter, though. It's O.J. I'm just saying. Take care. All right. I watch a lot of OJ stuff on the Twitter. I love me some OJ on the Twitter. Let's see. So Nate says, why the heck not? Maybe Auburn can win up at Rupp. I mean, I don't see any reason why they can't, but I don't know. And they played with a lot of heart at Mississippi State, played with a lot of heart at Arkansas, and then they've had 4 road games where they've just gotten thumped. So, yeah. Master Rocker says OJ's Twitter is insane. It's very strange. He obviously loves fantasy football a lot, and yeah, you just kind of have to it's a juxtaposition of the absurdity that he, of all people, is the guy that's tweeting about stuff, and then the comments. Well, technically, OJ's not an innocent man. I mean, he is a convicted felon, and he had a pretty sizable. He was found liable for the deaths of 2 people, so he's also got that hanging on him. But aside from that, I mean, yeah, not a problem. David P says, I love when Norm Macdonald teases OJ on Twitter. God, I wish I could see that. I have not seen that before. I would love to see that. Yeah. Almost as good as the GOAT, Ryan Powell. Wow. Look at you. You're an insider, knowing Ryan P like that. I hung out with Ryan P at the Final Four. I had a chance to hang out with him for a full dinner. He really is one of the GOATs. He is, seriously, think about he was awesome. Barrett Sallee was awesome. Adam P., last name redacted, who is now the SID at Troy, he was awesome. There's been a lot of great young folks come through. There's Ben Beatty, who now is a big guy at the SEC office, came through Auburn as a student. Lots of really good ones have come through there. So I can't say that Ryan's the GOAT, but he's certainly a badass. And also Chris, who passed away a number of years ago, he was a badass too. All right, let's see. I saw a wild documentary that pins the murders on his son. That sounds totally reasonable. Absolutely. Dan Webb reports that the turds have fallen. So we got Alabama went down tonight, and then Duke went down tonight. So, and then the Auburn Tigers won. So pretty good night in general. Canoe Man says he got one of his Final Four tickets from Ryan. Okay. That's good to know. Ryan's up there in the cold weather. I bet Ryan would like to be somewhere it's a little warmer. Because he, as I recall, is he from like Augusta? No, Albany, Georgia, maybe? I can't remember exactly. He's from down here somewhere, though. He said he really suffered when we didn't win the Final Four. A lot of people did, believe me. Christopher Brown says, what do we do with Jamal Johnson? Seems like he's becoming more and more useless as each game passes. Yeah. Defensively, he's a liability. They were still playing him because he was given some three-point shooting, but he went 0 for 1 tonight. He's had a 6-game stretch where he hadn't hit much of anything, and I think at this point it's like he's not bringing a lot, and you can get more out of other guys. So I think those minutes are kind of going to, even though Jalen doesn't play that position, I think they restructure the lineup so that Devin gets a few more minutes and Jalen gets more minutes at the expense of Jamal, who was getting like 15 probably at his peak, and now he gets like 3. So that's kind of what's going on. Jazzy Joe in the house with a super chat. I was wondering about you, Jazzy. I know you're out on the road doing your thing, but it's great. Awesome to see you back, bro. He says, what's up, peeps? Missed y'all. Been driving every time the drain's been on. I haven't forgotten about y'all, Ward Am Eagle. I figured that's exactly what you're doing. Jazzy Joe is a long-haul trucker with a really sweet rig, by the way. If you guys remember, he's got it all tatted up, basically, with Auburn stuff. Riding for the brand every mile. We can say that for sure. So anyway, it's great to see you, Jazzy Joe. Appreciate that, bro. All right. Well, I think we've said it all, guys. Big night from Austin Wiley. Very encouraging night from Jalen Williams, yet again. Put Ole Miss away. Now we take a look at the standings as we did earlier. Auburn now in really good position to get that double bye, but they're playing at Kentucky this weekend, Saturday, 2:30 Central Time. It's an odd time like that. It's going to be on national TV, which is part of the reason for that. And that's going to be definitely a major showdown, a national showdown, as the kids would say. Not going to be going there myself. My daughter's interviewing for a big scholarship at South Alabama on Saturday, and I just thought it was better that I go down there with her. But that's going to be, I think she interviews like 7 or 8 in the morning that morning, and so I think we can get back. I think I'll be back in time to do the show. In fact, I'm almost positive of it, so we should be good to go there. But I'll be keeping up with it for sure. You know that. I just want to be there to help support her for this big interview. She's trying to get into their early enrollee for medical school at South, which means basically if you get into that program and you stay at certain benchmarks of your GPA and your MCAT, you don't have to interview or anything. You just go straight into the medical school at South, and that would be sweet. So she's also interviewing for the Honors College for what that's worth. So we're always pulling for her. Y'all don't have to, but I do. We got Ben B coming through with another super chat. Thank you, sir. That says, thanks, JG. No, thank you for being part of the show. Sparrow Empire comes through again. Says, JG, while staring at my Scotty Pullman poster last night, I had an epiphany. If we just never play Jamal and start Jalen, we'd be a tourney threat. It's interesting that Scotty Pullman would be the guy to get you going on that. Never play Jamal and start Jalen, and we'd be a tourney threat. So you start Jalen at the 4, and then you bench Danjel, I guess. I'm not opposed to it. I didn't think Jalen could handle that, but I'm starting to change my mind on that. He might still be better off the bench, though, kind of like Lou Williams in the NBA. Jamal Crawford at this stage in his career, maybe for Jalen, but we'll see. If they feel like they can get more out of Jalen over Danjel, I promise you BP will do it. BP's not a guy, Gus loves his veterans now, and he'll stick with Cam Martin through thick and thin, but not that BP doesn't care about his kids, he does, but if he thinks he's going to get significantly more productivity out of a younger person versus an older person, he'll do it. I promise you he'll do it. So, good question, Sparrow, and it's at least worth something. It's worth considering, I think. At this point, Jamal's not very helpful. Agreed. And thank you for the super chat, YouTube NB and Jazzy Joe. Finishing up strong here. Strong. Let's see. Melee says UNC stole one against NC State. NC State had just beat Duke the other day, too. Steals one against NC State to break a 7-game losing streak. Garrison, I hope you're having a good time over there, buddy. Let's check in with our friends at North Carolina. Let's see how their season's going. Oh, boy. It's rocky. 10-17. Well, they're 11-17 now. 4-13 in the SEC. And as you mentioned, that just snapped a 7-game skid. And they have lost 12 of their last 14. Well, no, 12 of their last 15 now that NC State's a win. And they've got at Syracuse, which they're not going to win. They got Wake Forest at home, which they're probably not going to win. And then they're at Duke, which they definitely won't win. So, rocky would be a nice thing to say. Garrison Brooks, looks like he's been okay from a Ken Palm perspective. Shooting 54% from 2. That's pretty good. 2 of 7 from 3. It's not really his game. They don't show points per game on Ken Palm, as you guys know, so I can't really see that. But looks like he's having a solid year. Can't believe he's a junior. Good golly. Well, the years get away from me big time. Looks like he's playing a lot of power forward. He's basically doing what Ant does for them. Keeping him eligible says UNC. Woof. Absolutely. This is a mess. Ay. Love the Cat says he's hit me up on Facebook Messenger. Why would you do that? Was this 1988 or whatever? I don't even believe you. I don't trust anything you tell me. Unless you tell me I'm the best mod, and then I totally believe you. All right, we'll probably wrap it up then, yo. Appreciate you guys being here. It's awesome to see you again, Jazzy. It's been a minute. Don't be a stranger. I know you're out there doing your thing, but don't be a stranger. And, yeah, we had a lot of traffic tonight. A lot of great, funny chats on here. Harvey Specter decided to grace us with his presence. Alfa Tiger called in. It's appreciated. And let's see. We had some folks go the distance tonight. Love the Cats has gone the distance. Canoe Man's gone the distance. Melee's been here for us for a long time. Scott Blank's been here for a while. Thank you for that. Blake D's been here for the distance. Our most positive poster for show. TD. Absolutely, guys. Doug D's been here for a long time. Yeah. Chip's been here. Was very quick to let me know that Duke had lost, and that made my night. So it was great. All right, we'll wrap it up, guys. Good quality brain drain. We went, oh my gosh. We're at 2 hours now. How about that? It's been a pleasure to be your MC tonight. The Auburn Tigers victorious over the hated Rebels of Ole Miss, 67-58. We've taken a look at the box. We've taken a look at the standings, and we've taken a look at the UK Ken Palm. UK's been pretty good, guys. It's going to be a tough win. I think Ken Palm is giving Auburn like a 30% chance to win that game now, something like that. But hell, I mean, who cares? It's all simulated in the Ken Palm world. He doesn't know what he's talking about. So we'll wrap it up. Appreciate you guys. We'll check you out again Saturday afternoon. I think I'll be back here. There's an outside chance that I'll do the show from Mobile. But either way, we will be here, and we will do this thing together. And if Auburn wins, we drink. If Auburn loses, we probably drink too. So until I see you guys again, keep your feet on the ground, and, yeah, keep reaching for the stars. See you guys.